Hi, Marcus here from 4POS. Just a quick demo to show you how to install the 4Pay system. 4Pay is a payroll system that allows you to do your payroll. So let's go through the procedure quickly. It will bring up the 4Pay requisite wizard. I click on next. Important to specify server on your main installer for your main system, or if it's the only computer, you can also obviously install 4Pay over a network, have multiple machines. The normal network functionality and requirements is needed. The system will now pick up if there's any other 4Pay installations that have been running on the system or on your PC, and delete and uninstall it first, and then it will carry on doing the installation. As you can see, it will start creating the databases for us that is required, and once it's done, it'll open up the manual automatically. I'm going to leave the manual open for now. Just simply click on the 4Pay setup and close that. Alright, so that's it. That's as simple as it is. I have 4POS installed on this PC before, so it will automatically detect if there's the SQL database installed or not. If it is installed, like on my computer, it will skip all those parts. It will create a new data source, which is basically an ODBC connection. So I'm just opening up 4Pay once again, and I'm into the system, and you can see it's a trial version. For now, I'm just going to click on register later, and simply click on OK on the username and password. Alright, so according to the manual, if we go through the steps here, we'll see that we need to go and specify passwords, and so let's do that quickly. Alright, so I'm going to go to utilities, maintain passwords. You see there's a default here. I'm going to add a user, and I'm going to call my user Joe. Sorry, not Ho, Joe. Sorry about that. No pun intended. And first name is Joe, and last name is Soap. And password is 1234, argument's sake, 1234. And then I'm going to go into permissions, and I'm going to say this person can do everything. Alright, and that's as simple as it gets. So I've got a Joe Soap there, that now all good and active and so on. Okay. Then the next step is to go to utilities again and go and specify your company parameters. In the company parameters, you can go and change your company name, your address, all the rest of it as well. And then you can specify here at the bottom whether you are charging tax. In other words, is your employees liable for tax? Now, if it's a weekly worker and you know what the limits are, etc., you would not necessarily apply that. Or you can say, yes, some of them are and some of them not. And you can apply it per person, or you can let the tax tables take care of it for you. In your installation file or installation process, you see the tax tables already preloaded for South Africa. In the past, we did not help other countries. We would gladly do that. Botswana, Namibia, all the rest of it, let us know, and we will help you and assist you with that. So you can go and specify whether the person or the people in your business is working as weekly workers, etc. Alright, so as you can see, the tax tables are there for monthly workers. Alright, for now, let's skip out of there. Sorry, let's just go back to company parameters. You can say what your monthly period number is. In other words, I'm in February at the moment, so this might be my 12th month. I can say what my monthly hours is, or monthly working hours is, what my UF ceiling is, periods in a year, starting from week 1, argument's sake, which year we're in, weekly working hours, etc. Alright, pretty self-explanatory, or explained, shall I say. Alright, whether you have FortLock installed on the system or not. FortLock is a system that comes automatically with 4POS, and that is used for clocking in your hours and things like that. Tax tables we've done, define the working days. You can go and say which days of the week is a working day, whether there's a poll display connected to the system or not. Okay, this is for when you use FortLock on a remote PC. Let's say you've got 2 or 3 PCs, you just assigned a specific PC to say on that PC they will do the clock-ins and so on. Okay. Alright, so let's get back into the nitty-gritties. So obviously I want to be able to go and create some staff that I have, and I'm going to just type in Mary as a name, and last surname is Adams. Alright, and once you've typed in all the details and stuff like that, you simply just need to go and say what the monthly salary of this person is, or weekly for that matter. So let's say this person is a monthly salary earner and they earn, let's just give it a number, 7,000. Same rules apply as in 4POS. 7,000 will be 7,000,000. Okay. Tab just to confirm, yes, it's 7,000. Yes, that's a monthly worker. Everything else is fine. And then at the bottom here, as you can see, you can specify whether this person is paying taxes or applicable for taxes or not, or you are registered for tax or not. Alright, so for now I'm just going to leave all of that as is. You can also, just for a sake of interest, you can go and specify how you're paying this person. You're paying them cash, and if you are doing bank transfers, you might even go and say, fine, I'm transferring 50% into the bank and 50% in cash, or whatever the case may be. Alright, so I'm going to keep it simple, no additions, no deductions at this point in time. Okay, so there I've got one person there. I can go and say periodic inputs. In other words, what did this person work for the month? Let's say they did work a full 180 hours, which in South Africa is quite strange because they're always sick on a Friday and a Monday. As we all know, on the right hand side it will calculate here for you what the salaries would be. If you had multiple people, you'd be able to go to the next person and so on. Obviously, if you have 4 o'clock, these hours would come from the 4 o'clock system. Alright, so for now, again, quite simple, quite straightforward. Now I want to be able just to go and do my update. Lots of logic behind the reason why it is, but for now the process is this. It does a calculation for you, tells you what your hourly pay is. You can print that if you want to or not, and then immediately you can go to reports and print your wage slips. Alright, and I'm not going to do anything fancy. So there, very simply, there's your pay sheet. Later on we will look at modifying it so that you can go and design your own pay sheets, etc., or give you templates to make it easier for you. Alright, so it also does the coinage analysis here for you at the bottom, and tells you that the easiest way to pay here is to give a 35 200 Rand notes. Alright, and that's as simple as it gets. There's a number of other reports. Let's just go through that quickly. There's a coinage analysis report, obviously, that gives you the breakdown there. As you can see, quite a few other reports. Bank transfers for some of your staff that you might want to do bank transfers. Just gives you a breakdown of that UIF that they have deducted, or the system has deducted, so that you can calculate tax, the number of hours that they work, totals as well. Totals is just the basic hours that they've worked and the totals of it. So it's a nice summary report that you can use. For a simple system, it's quite intense and quite involved. So you can basically pick from the reports which ones you need. Additions report, contributions, stock deductions. Stock deductions is for if they have purchased stock from you, you can actually do that as well. Alright, so let's get through a little bit more technical stuff. Let me just go and add one more person just to make it interesting. Alright, so let's get into the additions and so on. So what I've done is, in the background there, I've created a Joe Soap, and I've said, okay, fine, Joe Soap has got an addition. He gets an overtime allowance because he opens and closes the shop. It's an amount that I'm going to give him, and the addition is a basic allowance. In other words, there's taxes on it, etc., etc. Alright, and I'm adding that allowance. Okay, and let's say I'm giving something else. I'm also giving him an allowance for overalls that they wear, etc., etc. Sorry, let's make it over to, in other words, for the washing and whatever of their overall, sorry, an amount, and I'm saying it's also a fringe benefits. Okay, and we're adding that. Alright, so I've got two additions that I've added to the system. I might as well add some deductions as well. You can see it by default, it's got a loan repayment option there with code 900. Rather leave it there. It's got special functionality, so it deducts automatically from the loans if they do have. If I want to go and add some other items there, you'll see that caters for all the basics, medical aid and so on. So let's go and add something else, and say that this is code 105, argument's sake, and this is a deduction for using of company car, whatever it is. Let's just call it car allowance. Alright, and we're saying it's an amount or a percentage for that matter. You can do a percentage of the salary, in other words. And again, whether it's a sundry deduction, tax deduction, or just contribution. Alright, so it's a sundry deduction. That might as well have been some association that they work for, or that you need to deduct for, or a workers' union, or whatever the case may be. So for now, let's just call it workers' union then, wherever and whatever that might be. Alright, so I'm adding that, and I'm going out, and I'm going to add the deduction. Let's say workers' union is paying 100 Rand a month towards the workers' union, and I'm adding that to the system. And from the addition side, as we said earlier, I'm giving him a overtime allowance of, call it 1,000 Rand. Alright, pressing tab just to make sure that the amounts are correct. And I'm also going to add the overall allowance for washing his own overall, etc., etc. And let's say that's 300 Rand a month. Okay, alright, and that's all done. So if we look at Joe Soap, hang on, let's just go and fix the cell number there. As you can see, it doesn't do a check. This is just notes that you can put in for this person, information about when they started working, etc., etc., the date of birth, etc., etc., so that you can at least get information about this person for many different reasons. Alright, so as you can see, there's the deductions that he's getting per month, the total deductions per month, and his net pay that he will get. That's obviously a sum. Alright, so let's go through the same process now for them. And in other words, I'm going to say Joe Soap has also worked in a month, and he's actually done his 180 hours. And that's it. Mary Adams, Joe Soap, Mary Adams, we did earlier. So I'm going to do another update and run through that. Once that's done, both of my employees have been updated, and again I can go and do my wage slips and so forth. Alright. Okay, and there's my Joe Soap. Basic salary of 15,000, overtime allowance of 100, overall 300 Rand, so that gives him a basic of 15,400 minus the workers' union, brings it down to 15,300. That is your analysis, your coinage analysis. Obviously you can just print that out for the guy and hand it out to them. Alright, and let's just do one more of the reports, and we can go and do again coinage analysis, which will tell us now that both Joe and Mary gets cash. Alright. Alright, again, play around with the manuals, with the manual obviously, but also the yearly report and IRP files at the end of the year that you want to maybe hand out to your staff. As you can see, it covers for all of those type of details. At the end of the period or the end of the month, let's assume that you've done all of this now, you've printed everything as you want, and you're now done for the month, and you just will simply run a period end. And the period end will then close off this month and allow you to move on to the next month. As you can see, we do a backup first just to cover you. So in case something went wrong and you say, oops, I had to go back, then you'll be able to go into restore your backup from the utilities as always, and be able to go in and restore that month and redo that month's payroll. And that's as simple as it gets. Easy, simple payroll system with lots of benefits and functions. Enjoy.